What's up, dudes and dudes 2.0? Today we have a very special video because I'm doing another video in a non-existent series yet so far. It's not a series. Let's just make it clear because I'm not gonna do many of these videos. These videos are only reserved for the best of the best musicians. And now, obviously, I did one for Yuki of ICGD, but if you read this title, you'll see that it's actually referring to the guitarist of Morbid Angel, Trey Azagthoth. And we are gonna talk today, alright? We have some shit to talk about. Like, last time I went over, like, the different vocal performances that the Yuki vocalist is able to do. This time, it's not about vocal performances, although we might touch a little on that because this dude Trey also does do some vocals, but we won't necessarily focus on that today because we have to cover something very important. First off, the 1986s, this man Trey decided that he was gonna write some songs, He probably decided it a lot earlier, like 2 years earlier, but bear with me here. My story is only a little bit correct, so any wrongdoings that I say, if I say anything wrong, feel free to just correct me in the comments. Just say that, oh no, you missed this, it's actually this. If I say anything that's just wrong, I would be happy if people in the comments actually do correct me so that people can be fully informed here what the truth is. But we have to cover that in 1986, Trey decides that, I'm gonna write some stuff. The technically first Morbid Angel album, Abominations of Something of Desolation, if you listen to it, you would understand why Trey wasn't too happy with Abominations and decided to instead re-record the songs. Better production, better playing, better riffs, execution. Some riffs are slightly different, I believe. I'm not entirely sure, but when he made that change, he didn't only just make a change in the riffs. He made the biggest change of the world because he didn't just change the riffs. He changed the entire death metal genre and pretty much put the sword in the stone or whatever that's supposed to be called. And he wrote the best death metal album to date. You go into the album, and the first thing you hear is Immortal Rights, and you get pleased with a great sound of riff. But the first time, you're being played it backwards, and it actually would sound really cool if the song actually sounded like that. Like the riff backwards actually sounds pretty good. So when the riff sounds already good backwards, you kind of want to know what it sounds like forwards. You know what I'm saying? And then you actually do get to hear the riff forwards, but first, you have the hardest snare hit in all of metal history. Let me just play that for you right here. Yeah, that snare hit and the riff after that you heard just now is just... yeah, that is metal history. You don't have a snare hit that hard and just and just get away with it. No, you're gonna be a lot famous if you do that kind of snare hits. And of course, Immortal Rights is not the most insane song on the album. It's kind of hard for me to actually say which one is the fastest. But, for example, you start off with the word Immortal Rights. We have to mention that. Then you go into Suffocation. It's a little more fast, I believe. Yeah, but it's not a day and night speed difference here. The fastest song on the album, after doing some reconsideration of what I just said, because I just said the entire wrong song, the fastest song is probably Damnation, but it's in terms of raw speed, because Damnation has this thing called a Diarrhea Blast section, and Diarrhea Blast, if you don't know, is a kick, snare, and cymbal is optional, but you if you do have a cymbal, you always hit it in unison with the snare, otherwise it's not a Diarrhea Blast, otherwise it's some other variation blast of the Diarrhea Blast, you could call it, but you can call it just a Diarrhea Blast, so it's, but why is this called a Diarrhea Blast, you may ask, because it's quite an interesting name, it's something, it's sure a name to behold. It's because it sounds like a diarrhea of notes, especially when played fast, and in Damnation, thankfully, Pete Sandoval does play it very fast, and I'll actually let you hear an example of that as well, since we did have Immortal Rights, and that sounds like this. So, yeah, I think you can understand now what a Diarrhea Blast is, and it's not hard to play fast. Even at that speed in the song, it's not a really hard pattern. I believe if you just practice drums for 6 months, it depends. You should have some pride. It depends. 1 year at least, you should be able to play that kind of speed of Diarrhea Blast if you start practicing non-stop and you use double bass. I'm sure you would be able to do it in a year. Because I only played for a year and I can kind of do Diarrhea Blasts, so you'll at least be kind of able to do Diarrhea Blasts. But the actual just raw fastest song on the album would probably be Bleed for the Devil, and the reason why is because of the blast beats, which sounds like this. And yeah, that's just raw speed. Not raw speed, but it's that's just the speed in general, just regular speed of McPherson. So now you would ask yourself, maybe at least I would in this shoes, is speed the only thing this album has to offer? No, of course not. It also has to offer the greatest riff ever written, Maze of Torment. And why is it the greatest riff ever written? Well, listen to this. Yeah, I think it's pretty understandable why it's the greatest riff written in all time, because it's awesome. It's just so cool, and it really makes the song stand out, and it's not like the rest of the songs any worse. And there's also Chapel of Ghouls. I'm not sure if there's any sections that I feel like it's necessary to show it, but if I do, I will show it now. So, either you just heard Chapel of Ghouls, or you didn't. So if you did hear Chapel of Ghouls, then, well, that's what it sounds like, and you can probably understand why that's also one of the greatest songs on the album. And if you didn't, well, shit, you should probably go listen to it. But you probably didn't get to hear it, because I probably realized that I should just put it there. And now that we actually covered these songs on this first album here that Trey wrote most of, I believe, those, we have to cover some other stuff, like Blessed Are the Sick. There's not really too much that I can just speak about. I can, however, show you one song in particular that just stands out, and it's called Unholy Blasphemies. It has a part that sounds like this. Yeah, so, we should move on and talk a little more about Trey. So, what I want to document today about Trey, because I have to speak about Morbid Angel. If I'm gonna make a video about Trey, I have to mention some songs of Altars and at least Unholy Blasphemies from, Blessed Are the Sick. You can't have it any other way. Sorry. But now that we actually are really focusing on Trey, we're gonna jump from Abominations not to Covenant, not to Domination. Those are both stellar albums, and if you haven't listened to Altars, Blessed, Covenant, or Domination, you should listen to them right now. In fact, you definitely should listen to them, because if you don't, you're gonna miss out on the best albums ever made in history. Because every album up to Gateways is the last great album they made. It's just the best albums ever made. And anyone who shits on any of these are just simply wrong. Because they're just simply wrong. You don't shit on Morbid Angel. You don't do that. That's not what you do. You listen to them and you fucking enjoy them. But where are we jumping? And are we jumping all the way to Gateways, since I mentioned Gateways? No. We might get to Gateways at the last part of the video, but I want to focus on a song in particular, which only this song puts Trey apart from other guitarists. This song alone is what separates Trey from the legends. This is what makes Trey not a legend, not a god, but what I would call the god of gods. This is what makes Trey the singular, perfect death metal guitarist of all time. You want to know why? Okay. We're going to have to go into Formulas Fatal to the Flesh. And if you hate this album, then I hate you. Simple as that. That's just how it is. I'm sorry, but if you hate this album, then you can fuck off. You don't belong here. Seriously though, you don't belong here if you hate that album, because I don't even know why you're on my channel, because my music doesn't make much sense to people who hate this album. And even to people who love this album, it probably doesn't even make much sense. So I don't even know what you're doing here if you hate this album, actually. You're probably just scratching your own butthole, thinking, what the fuck did I watch this guy for? If you even, if you hate this album. Like, why the fuck did I click on this video if I hate this fucking album? I mean, I'm probably a little stupid. That's probably what you're thinking right now. Because we're going to talk about none other than Invocation of the Continual One. This song is not only probably the greatest song of all time when I think about it. It's probably also the greatest song ever written over 5 minutes. And this is something I can say proudly. Because this song is not only just over 5 minutes, which is a regular, death metal song. A lot of death metal can go over 5 minutes. This song is 9 minutes and 47 seconds. Not only does Steve Tucker do a great performance delivering his vocal lines in this, not only does he also deliver the bass really fluid and just in there. He just, you know what I'm saying? He really just goes in there and puts some nice sprinkles on the entire album with his vocals and bass lines. Not only does Pete Sandoval litter the songs with just everything he could possibly do, and Invocation is no exception for this one. But Trey not only wrote track 11, he perfected track 11. It has the riffs, you have all the riffs, the 5 minutes of riffs that you need in a death metal song. And about after that time, you actually just get a sudden pause. It's like everything goes quiet. Like, literally, everything just goes quiet. Like radio silence. And then the song comes back. And this is probably the best fake out in history, because you literally just think the song is over. But then it comes back with the riff that sounds like this. And I will actually stop it right there before it picks up right again, because this riff is pretty much what goes on for most of the stuff. But then, just a little bit after it picks up again, the song starts building up. The riff is like, you kind of hear like that it's building up to something. You're kind of starting to think a little here, and then Trey does another riff with these octave chords, and it just fills the room with so much just what the fuck is gonna happen. And then all just out of fucking nowhere, Trey does this. And this entire solo that I just made you listen to is exactly why Morbid Angel not only is the world's best death metal band of all time, and in modern time as well, even though they made Illud. We'll never forgive you for that one, David. Like, what was he thinking? And even look at David's solo career. I mean, what the fuck is that? But still, they are the singular greatest death metal band. And if you say, well, what about death, then what about death to you? That sounds like an option to me. Because I used to think that too. I used to be the guy who went on Twitter, when I still had a Twitter account, and saw those, like, deaf fans when Morbid Angel XXX, and then it's just, like, making fun of, like, deaf fans and crying. I'm the kind of guy that commented on those, like, bro, are you serious? Death is so fucking good. Oh my god, they're literally the best death metal band. They literally invented... No. If anything, I would rather say that Morbid Angel invented the true death metal, because not really any band before Morbid Angel is true death metal. And this is why I'm gonna get a lot of hate on this video. The true reason why the Invocation of the Continual One is probably the best death metal song ever is because of the chemistry in the band. This is the band at their peak. Like, there's no better peak than this era of the band. To just really elaborate why, is because when you think about it, Invocation of the Continual One is not only the best death metal song because of the guitar solo, the chemistry of the band, but you gotta think about it. It's 9 minutes of unique riffs. It's unique. I had never heard something quite exactly like Invocation before Invocation, you know? You know what I'm saying? Sure, I've heard Morbid Angel, but I will even say Morbid Angel outdid themselves on this song, because every fucking part of this song is just so fucking awesome. You can't go wrong with it. I mean, I could probably masturbate to that guitar solo. I'm pretty sure if they didn't fade out that guitar solo, it would rip space and time continuum. It would rip a hole in the ozone layer. It would rip a massive hole in the ozone layer, and somehow, in that hole that is ripped open, form a black hole that somehow sucks up the entire universe. That's just how fucking powerful this song is. And if you disagree, well, you should probably just leave, honestly. Because you're wrong. I'll accept you disagree, but I don't want you to disagree, because I don't want you here anymore if you disagree. It's just such a great song that I will do anything to protect this song. This is like, Invocation of the Continual One is the lolly of death metal songs. But not the lolly that you loot. It's the lolly that you protect with all your fucking blood, sweat, and tears. It is just the greatest song of all time, honestly. When I think about it, it really is. I can't, because the guitar solo, I can ramble on about guitar solo forever, dude. We can't talk about Trey without talking about Gateways, the greatest album they've ever formed. It starts with Kawasu, which honestly should have just been merged together with Summoning Redemption, because it's literally the same. It's literally the song. Like, Summoning Redemption, when you actually go to Summoning Redemption, you hear the same thing that goes on in Kawasu. But that's the only critique you can have on this album. It's the way they made that. Like, there's nothing else you can critique about the album. Merge together the first instrumental with the first song. I mean, that's not even really a critique that should bump it down any. In fact, but it starts with Summoning Redemption, and I mean, come on, it starts with a riff like this. It's awesome. And then you have Ageless. And you bet your fucking ass I'm gonna show you what the Ageless Still I Am riff sounds like. It sounds like this. And yeah, that is fucking cool. You have Hugh Sleeps, To the Victor, The Spoils. Those are fine. Those are really great songs. Like, great songs. Like, so fucking good. And One With Nothing. Oh, yeah, baby. But before we actually go to my favorite song. Well, actually, my favorite song is probably God of the Forsaken. Let's just be fair here. Because it's not only really fucking fast, it's also really fucking awesome. You should listen to God of the Forsaken if you haven't. Actually, you should listen to Gateways to Annihilation if you haven't. You know, we have to talk about Secure Limitations. This song is the most notable one for me where Trey does vocals. Why? Because this one is so cool. You know, I have to go into the lyrics because not only does he sing on this alongside Steve Tucker, he also wrote the lyrics. I shouldn't be the one who tells you this lyrics. Actually, just listen to Trey do it. You created this thing you called sin. And yeah, just that first line, it delivers. It's just so. This is the one song where Trey sings on it, where you can actually tell immediately that it's someone else. Like, I know there's other songs he sings on, and it's not as obvious in those songs. But in this song, it's so obvious that you're like, wait, who's singing now? Did Steve just change his vocal style? Like, what the hell, man? Is so cool. Is probably the most powerful. There's only one last song to admit on this album. And as I said, if I'm gonna talk about why Trey's the greatest guitarist, I have to talk about this album in a whole. Because in this song, we have to address another member in the band. It's Pete Sandoval. Why? Because during the chorus, not only does Pete do his usual drumming thing, did I mention that he's probably the greatest drummer of all time? Well, I did now. Just listen to the double bass in this part. Yeah, so that was fucking fast. 280 BPM 16th notes? Really? Pete Sandoval? What the hell? But yeah, I feel like I've elaborated a little why Trey is the greatest guitarist in death metal of all time. Because, I mean, I've shown his riffs, which is what's important. And I've shown the greatest guitar solo of all time. So, that's it for the video. I've been Suicide Grind, and you've been watching me talk about why Trey is the greatest guitarist in death metal. and a little bit about Morbid Angel as a whole, of course. You gotta do that when you talk about Trey. Because, I mean, Trey is Morbid Angel as well. And I showed some examples here and there. But, you know, that's the video. So you know the motto. Stay cute.
My friend plays the recorder better. Hey, fuck your friend!